Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for another edition of Adam Interviews, where we continue to talk with inspiring people in our community. And I am so glad that the opportunity presented itself to talk with Jeff Knauss. He's someone that I would have hit up anyway, given the really innovative work that he's been doing in our community for years now. But I think a catalyst for this is the outreach and the offering he's made with the current government shutdown and the potential for SNAP benefits to disappear. We covered his generosity yesterday, and he joins us now. Jeff, thank you so much for being a member of our community and for joining me today.
Absolutely, man. It's great to see you again, and after all these years, I'm happy to catch up.
Yeah. So before we get to what you've offered and why and all that, he kind of said we've met several years ago, partly through friends, partly because of what you were doing in the AI realm with Hive and whatnot. Why don't you just walk people through how you got to the position that you're in today?
Yeah, so I was super fortunate. I worked in television for about a decade, so I think our paths crossed back in those days. And then I started a company called Digital Hive. It was a digital marketing agency where we helped people with paid social media and digital marketing. Helping local businesses, get their words out to more consumers. And that business went really well. We grew super fast. We ended up being the 52nd fastest private growing company on the Inc. 5000 list in 2018. And then in 2021, we sold the company to another local business, Butler Till, which was incredible. Our employees are employee owners now because Butler Till is an ESOP. I had an exit as well as my business partner, which was wonderful. And I went off after I sold the company and started some restaurants. I started some other companies. I actually started a family foundation focused on changing generational poverty for as many people as possible. And most recently, I started a AI company that helps build AI digital employees for companies to help augment their human teams to get rid of all the repetitive, mundane work
Hmm.
and let the humans focus on the human work.
Has it been difficult to transition to almost different industries? I mean, it took me up until now, and I still don't understand my industry. So for you to kind of leapfrog and move around, what's that been like?
Yeah, man. It's I always describe it as entrepreneurial ADD. I think I grew up in a small rural community in upstate New York, and I didn't really have a lot of business mentorship. So I've always been fascinated with just learning new things and the idea of being able to understand, everything from digital marketing and new emerging technologies like AI. To how do restaurants work? How does education work? How does bringing really amazing people together. Like I love learning how to build something of value when it didn't exist the day before. Like that really interests me.
Yeah, and obviously to transition from TV to this, what type of education did you need to do that? Because it's a whole different space.
Oh gosh. Well, I'm very proud to be an SUNY Oswego alumni. I got a great education from SUNY Oswego, but I was a public relations manager, and I don't know that I've used that much throughout my life. Like so many people, I didn't find the job, that fit my criteria right out of school. I think so much of the education really comes from learning from others. I've just had some really incredible mentors throughout the years, people that, are doing amazing things in the spaces that I'm trying to learn in. And I've been fortunate to build some really great relationships where people have taught me kind of everything I know.
All right. So getting the fast forward to this week where you came out and you said, listen, with the potential that people could lose SNAP benefits. And let me say this, Jeff, just give me 30 seconds here where I just want to explain. You have two things at play here. You have a change in SNAP eligibility that
Yeah.
is going to go into effect later this year, no matter what. So you
Mhm.
might have some people not receive the benefits that they once had. SNAP, by the way, a lot of people still call them food stamps, where you get money and then you can buy groceries. And then you have the shutdown, where now the Trump administration is saying that November 1st, SNAP benefits, they don't have the money to hand out. And so you've got thousands upon thousands of people just in our area who may suddenly
Mhm.
not have money for groceries. And you came out and did what? And how is this going to play out? How is this going to work?
Well, gosh, I was reading a story actually just on, all the changes to Snap, and I started to kind of dive into this, terrible cyclical nature of people, getting laid off or parents with multiple children, peoples with disabilities, the elderly, that don't have a supporting income and they rely on SNAP benefits. I read all these really, horrifying stories of people in terrible situations, and I felt helpless. I just felt like I can't do anything. I can't do anything to affect the government shutdown, by myself. So I started to think about, well, what could I do? Because I've realized for me, when I feel helpless, the cure to that is to take some action. And so about 48 hours ago from today, I had an idea to just say, well, what if I put together, kind of a SNAP relief fund where my family, we'd kick it off with a donation. We'd collect some money, and then I'd ask people through a GoFundMe to donate towards giving people the opportunity to get a $150 gift card at Wegmans. Um, so that it's and then 150 was chosen because that's around the monthly benefit of someone receiving SNAP, and so that's what it was. It was just like, can we bring together this amazing community of people that want to help, to be able to help the people that are in most need. And so the way that it works is you go to jeffknaus.com/snap, and people can fill out a very simple application, your name, information, which physical Wegmans you'd go into to pick up your gift card. And it's a first come, first serve basis. So if you're, first in the list, and we'll give as many, gift cards out as possible based on how many donations we get. That's kind of how it worked. We wanted to make it simple. We didn't want to make it bureaucratic in nature. We just wanted to get something out very quickly to help as many people as possible. And it's taken off, more than I could have ever imagined.
So I guess I guess adding to the trickiness of it, theoretically, if both sides came together and they ended the government shutdown, then we may not have an impact. Are you still giving out? Like, how does this work? Is this only going to be given out after November 1st if there's no answer to this?
The plan was, if SNAP benefits were reinstated, then we would donate to the regional food banks, Food Link in Rochester and the Food Bank of Central New York in Central New York, because we're really the footprint is Rochester and Syracuse. All Rochester and Syracuse Wegmans are participating, and so that was the idea, is that if it wasn't needed. That said, to your point, Adam, so many people need the help, and even if this $150 helps them through the month, even if SNAP does come back into play, people still need the help. So we're playing that by ear. We're kind of responding, waiting to see how the government reacts to all this. Then we'll make a decision. But ideally, we'd still like to get out these gift cards if we can.
I've got to tell you that when we posted this story online yesterday, it was our top story by far. It's gotten, I think, I don't know, tens of thousands of views. I can't imagine the type of demand on your website that you created. Have you been able to handle that kind of demand?
Yeah, I certainly wasn't expecting it, Adam. I thought this would be something that I share on social media. I'd have some friends donate. I'd have, people that were in need put in some applications. But within, a little over a day, we have received a total of 29,241 applications. I'll sit there and I'll watch it. The applications roll in, and we'll get 15 to 20 per minute. They just keep coming in so quickly, and that really demonstrates the incredible need there is in the community. And I've read hundreds of stories, of just people in really tough situations. And so, I'm hoping we can raise as much as possible to help as many people as possible.
For as inspiring as what you're doing is, I have to tell you that I got a little emotional there hearing that 30,000 people are taking the time to try and get money for food like this.
I agree. Well, I've been emotional. I've been a wreck for the last 48 hours, man. It is, you think about it in concepts, I think, right? Like, you think about food insecurity, you think about people in, harder situations than you. I think all of us have our own unique experience. We're going out throughout our day, thinking about the challenges we face. But almost no matter what situation in, there's always somebody that has it worse. And I've read so many situations that, from domestic abuse to people with disabilities, people that are out of work, people that are underemployed. I mean, just it's seemingly amazing human beings doing their best, working hard, and just not being able to catch a break. And so that's really the motivating factor to try to help these folks.
Yeah, and I think you started, correct me if I'm wrong, I catching up on a lot of stuff today, $10,000, but you're accepting donations from others. How is this working?
Yeah, yeah. My family personally donated $10,000 to kind of get us started, and honestly, I was again not knowing how many people would apply. We were like, oh yeah, that'll get us a good start. But obviously, with 30,000 applications, it wasn't a drop in the bucket, unfortunately. And so we opened it up to a GoFundMe, and I'll have to say, as disheartening as it is to hear about all these, unfortunate and sad stories, it's equally inspiring to see the amount of donations that have rolled in. To this exact point in time, we have had 975 people, almost 1,000 people donate to the GoFundMe, and we've raised $118,297. And this is in a day and a half. So the communities, the people in upstate New York have really shown up for those that need it the most. It's really inspiring.
I think obviously you intended to help. I don't, from what I gather from what you're saying, I don't know if you knew the hole that you were filling because we spoke with the folks at FoodLink and they are standing by to help in whatever way they can. A lot of it though is they have food, right? And that's the difference between SNAP and FoodLink is an emergency food bank, and they get money, get food out to pantries, and then you get the food. But SNAP is you get money that you can go to the grocery store, and that's so the distribution. FoodLink only has so much distribution capability, and they're a 10-county region. I mean, this is
Yeah,
it would be a massive undertaking. What I'm trying to say is they can't replace SNAP. They just
yeah,
can't. They can help
that's
out in
right.
an emergency. So what you're doing is you're giving the folks who may not have SNAP benefits exactly what they had prior, so they might not have to change their lives dramatically and go here or try to figure out where's the food around the corner from them.
Yeah, absolutely. FoodLink plays such a vital role in our community. I think people really don't understand how important it is to have a food banking entity like FoodLink in the greater Rochester community. And to your point, uh, no one can fill the gap of SNAP. I mean, again, I thought we'd get some applications, raise some money, and we could help people out. The need versus the ability to fill that gap is it's overwhelming. And so, yeah, to your point, I'd love to think about all the organizations to come together to help fill this massive void. But it's without this program in place for it to kind of go away because the government can't open and do the job it needs to do. That's really disappointing, and so that's why honestly I've tried to create in this process as few barriers as possible. I think friction creates hardship, and so that's why the application is easy on the website. That's why we're just allowing people to ask for help without really any like just, hey, if you need help, just apply. Takes a lot for somebody to ask for help, and we also made it easy with GoFundMe. Like if you want to donate, go to this link and give whatever you're able to give. And so people have shown up on both sides, and I think it's hopefully an illustration that there does need to be more help out there, and hopefully it comes sooner than later.
And look, you can make the argument that what I'm about to ask doesn't matter because if someone is taking the time to ask for money for food, they don't have to maybe go that extra step and prove that they're a SNAP recipient. But is that a requirement in this process?
Yeah, it's not, Adam, and exactly for that reason. I when I was younger, I was having a conversation with a few people, and they were arguing about someone, panhandling on the street. And for a whole host of reasons, that's why, emergency organizations, I've sat on the board of 7 different not-for-profits. And so it actually is not best practice to give money to somebody panhandling for a number of different reasons. The money is better suited to go to agencies that help systemically solve the problems, right? But ultimately, at that moment in time, I was giving money to someone, and uh, someone said, it takes so much for someone to ask for help. Nobody wants to stand out there and ask for help. Nobody wants to ask for help ever, right? It can be dehumanizing. There can be shame and embarrassment. And so I just felt more like in this very moment, it was less important to try to make people jump through hoops and more important to just try to deliver help for as many people as possible. And look, are there going to be some people that try to take advantage of it? Maybe. But at the end of the day, I choose to believe in, the positive and focus on the people that really need the help and not allow the people that, might ruin it to ruin it for everyone.
Yeah, and so 2 points. One, it's not like they're asking for $10,000. It's a $150 gift card to Wegmans.
You
So,
got it.
okay, let's say they were deceptive and they don't okay, got me. Like congratulations
100%.
on taking money away from other people, but you're not taking away $10,000. You're taking away 150. The other thing is this is how all the other agencies that help those in need operate, right? Or a lot of them, whether it's FoodLink, you want food, FoodLink has food for you, no
Yeah.
questions. You
You
want
got it.
food, and because it would create a barrier to ask too. You need a place to stay, open door mission, stay. So,
Yeah. That's right.
I think your model follows the more legacy institutions that we have in our area. This is not anything new by any stretch of the imagination. And I'm wondering now, Jeff, I don't know if you've had time in the 48 hours. Are other people modeling this, or have other people done something similar in other areas that you know of?
No, you know what? I've had a couple people reach out to see if they could help, to see if maybe they could bring it into their, area. I think I had someone from Long Island ask, like, "How did you do this? Can I replicate it?" Which would be wonderful. I mean, that's definitely the goal, right? Like, I don't have any ambitions to try to, solve world hunger myself. I don't have any ambitions to try to save, or to solve it for, upstate New York. I think that anytime someone takes an action, it creates a reaction. And I think my biggest, my hope is that other people see it and say, well, what can I do?
Right.
Right. That's all it really takes is it's the pebble going down the hill, that creates the boulder. And so I hope so, Adam. And I'll do whatever I can to help others kind of replicate it.
And to your point, even after this is all over, and let's say they solve this on Friday, and we're not talking about the expansive snap changes for folks. Perhaps it shows the need, and you can help in other ways. We partner with FoodLink every season for Food for Families, and I see it
Yeah.
with the little brown bags of hope. Do you know how many people, Jeff, will donate $10 and they'll say, "I'm donating. I don't have a lot of money, but I'm donating because I was there last year or I was there
Hmm.
5 years ago."
Hmm.
We fancy ourselves the richest country in the world, and in many ways we are. And the fact that we have a lot of people who don't know where they're getting their food tomorrow or a week, I think that the quick demand and the crisis that this has created shows that. And like you said, you've been on many boards, you've been up close as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's right. It is a tragedy to me, that, for as incredibly look, I love being an American. I was adopted at 3 months old from South Korea, and I feel so privileged to live here. I'm very proud to be living in the United States, to be American, to be an American citizen. Like I think it's the best country in the world, and uh, I think that resources and the ability to take care of one another and the government helping to do that, functionally, we don't hit the mark always, right? And so, there's improvement to be made everywhere, but ultimately, the hope is that we could. I don't see access to food as something that should be a privilege to some. It should be a right to all, right? Like, to your point, being the richest country in the world, we should have the ability to, at the very least, provide the basic functions for other human beings. That's just my belief.
Yeah, I do wonder if someone's going to look at your model and say, this is how it should be. The community coming together to feed people. What's the benefit of SNAP? Given the demand that you've seen and the concern written in those notes, what would be your response to that?
I hope so. I hope that more people take up some kind of mantle, to do something. And I think, what may stop people, I do want to call this out. What may stop people from taking action is that little voice in their head that says, "Well, what impact can I really make? I'm only one person, right?" And I have that too, by the way. I mean, there were so many times when I was building the website and figuring out the GoFundMe thing and trying to figure out logistics and working with Wegmans, who, by the way, has been an incredible partner. Like, logistics of pickup and doing all these things is not easy behind the scenes. I think people think it's simple. Oh yeah, just go pick up. But it's not. And I've been very fortunate to work with some pretty incredible people, specifically Evelyn Ingram, who is helping me on the Wegman side. Um, you know, After doing all that stuff, I was like, man, there's so much to do. I'm only one person. Is this really going to matter? But what pushes me through is if it helps a person, if I read one story about how it helps a single parent, get more access to more food for their kid, like that's worth it. One person. And so I think people should also, while it's great to have great ambitions for change, I think it's also important to understand impact doesn't matter as much as effort. If you just try, you should feel really good about the effort, and because there will be some kind of impact, and some impact is better than nothing. So don't allow fear of not being able to do enough stop you from doing anything.
Yeah, I love that. I guess just to follow up on that question, do you think that this could, now that you've seen the need, do you think that this type of model could replace Snap, or do we need that in place long term?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think, as we talked about, SNAP is a huge program, and so many people rely on it. I'd love to think that, humans can help other humans to solve, this big of a macroeconomic problem. But I think that's what government function is for, is to be able to help solve administratively, these really big, hairy issues of food insecurity. And I don't know that I think this kind of thing could be helpful in emergency situations like it's acting for now. But I think sustainably, I don't know that this would be something that works for the long term. That means I don't know. I could,
Yeah,
but
no,
I don't
yeah,
know.
no, and I think at the very least, what this shows, sometimes we just talk about these things as though they're just issues, just talking points, just discussion items. But what this shows is the real need behind a program like this, and the empathy and sympathy that's out there from others who are not suffering from food insecurity. So
That's right.
what I like about this project that you kind of created on a whim, in the middle of all of the discussion, you've shown the emotion and the concern that's out there in the community.
That's been the most uplifting thing to me, is to see the response, to have 1,000 people donate to strangers. What a wild and wonderful thing, right? That no one, very few people in this world don't worry about money in some capacity. And so for people to donate their hard-earned money to go towards helping someone that they'll never meet, I
Hmm.
mean, it just proves to me that there's still a lot of good in humanity.
Oh my goodness. I always say it's 99%. I mean, I've just
100%,
been
no
around for
doubt.
so long, and it's 99%, and just the 1%, it's tough,
Yeah.
of the negative stuff. And, but it's big, it makes an impact. So I didn't realize, Jeff, how closely you've been working with Wegmans, and that my own ignorance there. I was one that maybe thought that you drove around and picked up all the gift cards in
Oh
all the
gosh.
Wegmans, and
Oh
everyone
my
at
goodness.
Wegmans is like, what happened to all of our gift cards?
Yeah.
How has
Yeah.
that coordination been with them?
Yeah, no, it's been great. There's a lot of work behind the scenes to make all of this happen, and I give a lot of credit to them for helping figure this out. Because look, when I first started this, the idea was, how do I get the money out to people? I mean, literally, I started from an idea of, yeah, let's raise money, and then people can apply to get that money. But like, what's the bridge between that? And I started thinking, I literally. Uh, I bought 300 checks, physical checks for a bank account, so that I could write checks to people, thinking that would cover it. And I thought that was going to be too many. I thought it was being ridiculous. Uh, but that wasn't ridiculous at all. Well, the idea was ridiculous, because then I started thinking, well, how do I validate that these people are real, and that people haven't set up some kind of bot to fill out the just trying to figure out what like fraud looked like. And then I was like, well, maybe if I do digital gift cards, well, that doesn't really work, because it's the same problem. If I email off the digital gift cards, how would I know they're real people? And so that's when Wegmans, stepped in and said, well, if we do physical gift cards, then it'll at least verify that it's a human being in our community picking up the card. So they will bring their ID into a Wegmans if they've been selected. That's key. We will not, I mean, definitively, we just have so much demand. And while we've raised over $100,000, it just doesn't, not everyone will get a gift card, unfortunately. So if they're selected, they will receive an email saying, hey, the gift card at your designated location is ready to be picked up. Just bring in an ID. All they have to do is go to the front desk, give the ID, their name and gift card will be waiting for them, and they'll be handed their gift card. So that sounds simple, but again, it's far from.
Yeah. I admire, though, how quickly you moved on it. You kind of realized potential snake bites, pivoted, and credit goes to Wegmans as well for figuring this out as well with you. Where do you go from here, Jeff?
Forward, Adam. I don't know. Like every day is you figure it out. And again, I'm proud of the community for stepping up. I'm thankful for Wegmans for helping with logistics, and I am deeply saddened with the state we're in. So we're just going to keep trying and doing as much as we can, having as much impact as possible. And the hope will be that we won't need to, at least as much. And government reopens and SNAP is reinstated. And so, I think that's it. We got a lot to figure out on, I mean, there's other things, Adam, like, stuff that people don't think about. How do you get the money from GoFundMe to an account that can, how do you get the money out of the account to get to buy the gift cards? Like there's just things like that. So that's probably the next few days is just
Hmm.
really heavy on logistics, figuring all this stuff out so that we can deliver in a very seamless way. And at least people that are in need, at least they know that other people are looking out for them and care about them. I think that's really key.
No, I think all of this speaks to not only your compassion, but your talent for innovation. And I'm so glad that you have the history that you do where you know how to move quickly to make this happen. So very grateful on my end, and also very grateful that you have a TV history and we can still call you one of our own. So
Absolutely.
all right, Jeff Knauss, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, Adam. Great chatting with you again.
Of course. Jeff Knauss, a innovator, entrepreneur, businessman, and now philanthropist. I mean, he has been, but in this, for this particular topic, we're talking about his ability to try and coordinate the gifting of $150 to people who may be losing their SNAP benefits so they can get food. And we'll see where this goes from here. But the one thing I'm walking away from is the inspiration that comes from not just his activity, but all of those giving right now. So a silver lining in all of this. And we'll see where it all goes. Thank you so much for watching Adam Interviews. Tell your friends and family about the Rochester First streaming app. We are trying to do this every weeknight with someone new, a different story, a different, in many cases, a different strain of motivation, inspiration. And again, thank you to Jeff Knauss for talking with us today. All right, take care, everyone.
Get the Rochester First streaming app today for everything you love from News 8 on demand, plus exclusive shows you won't see anywhere else. Search ROC and download for free on Roku, Amazon Fire, and Apple TV.